Hi guys!
こんにちは。
Today we thought we would talk about our favorite stuff. Saikin.
ハマってる hooked?
Yeah, stuff we've been hooked on recently. Is this a video that takes a whole month to make? No, I've been working on this. And for the third time this year, I messed up and I couldn't finish it.
お疲れ様でした。
next month.
You can do it.
I'm very excited about that project, which is one of the things I'm hamatteru with woodworking.
I mean, you're getting really better on it.
Debatable. I'm learning.
It's really exciting to see the pictures of your stuff you've been making. I mean, just in general, I get to see in person. And your grandpa's creation.
Oh yeah, my grandpa's been into woodworking recently too. When I told my family I was making an arbor, my mom sent me photos of my grandpa's. His were much nicer than mine. They had like curves in the wood and stuff. He has like a 2-level garage full of nice tools that he can use. I have to get everything here from scratch. It's kinda sad.
Hi.
My whole life I've been kind of an artsy person, but I get tired of stuff if I do it too long. So like when I was a teenager, I was into like writing short stories and writing really terrible angsty poetry and like drawing.
Yeah. 詩を書いてたの.
Yeah.
Poetry.
Really bad poetry.
Can you say?
No. I'm sure I have it on one of my really old hard drives, but no one will ever know about them.
I assume it was in English, right?
Yes.
I have no idea. Yeah, so you can just tell me one and then I'll be like, wow, let's say it.
Why would I have it memorized? This was like more than 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And then when I got into college, I was into like fashion, and that's when I started video editing, which is also its own form of creativity. And right now I'm into making stuff with my hands, making stuff for our house. Which like fills so many niches. I want to make my home nice, and I'm gonna set up my nest and it's gonna be all pretty, and that's just what I want to do. I've been watching lots of YouTube woodworking videos.
I like the show introduced to me, Shogun.
Some people have asked what your thoughts on Shogun were.
So I guess it's really popular.
どうかな? How many of you guys have heard of the show Shogun?
You told me that this is actually based on the book, the very famous novel.
I think it's like 50 years old, the book Shogun.
That is pretty.
I have the book.
You do?
My mom gave it to me.
マジで?
I never got past the beginning of the book. It was really intense.
Oh.
It's always been highly rated, I think.
I don't know if you're the right person to ask anymore, but is the word shogun pretty well-known word?
I have no idea. I have no
Outside
idea.
of Japan? I was wondering if you guys learned a little bit of a history of Japan and then somehow you saw the word shogun.
Probably only...
You guys must know about the word tenno, right?
Our extent of Japanese history is probably mostly related to World War II.
天皇は時出てると思うけど.
Yeah, but I don't know that they would have written...
actually,
they might have just said like emperor.
Alright, that makes sense.
If I had to guess, I would say that maybe a lot of people have heard the word shogun, but they might not know what it means. Just because it was a famous book for a long time.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Anyway, so it's based on this book, right? And man, that was... めっちゃ日本だったね。
Intense. Yeah. めっちゃ日本。
めっちゃ日本だったね。普通に時代劇
Historical drama?
Historical drama? Definitely reminds me of Japanese 時代劇. And I'm sure there are actually a lot of actors who play in Shogun have play in 時代劇 shows. I think that when I saw the interview of Shogun producer interviews, cameramans and creators side the interview, they talked about it a little bit.
So first of all, a lot of the Japanese actors in the show are very famous in Japan.
Some of them, yes.
Some of them.
Of course, Toranaga, the actor who played Toranaga, Sanada-san, he played in Last Samurai. Oh man, he aged so well. When he was playing Last Samurai a decade ago, and then now he's Shogun. めっちゃかっこよくない? 超イケメンで. I could tell that the budget and like the detail, the effort they put into a whole different level, much higher than I expected. All the knowledge I have about that period was from my school, like a decades ago. A couple lines on a textbook for kids.
Yeah.
Literally, that's really it. And it's a couple images. I've never been that era or that time and period. I don't know how it was like, but I think it was pretty accurate and they did it really well. And I also like how care about small such a detail.
Yeah.
There are many scenes where Japanese people talk in Japanese in old Japanese. So there are many times that I could not understand what they're saying. Like, みたいな時々わかんなくなる Just like when I was watching Jidai with my grandfather
Yeah.
and then I talked to my grandpa what that means like oh blah 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 oh, okay thank you
Yeah.
kind of thing I actually couldn't understand 30-40% of what my grandpa's saying with his heavy accent so when he was explaining I still couldn't understand sometimes anyway I could see that how much kodawari they put into, especially how they talk, how they behave, how they walk.
Seems like the showrunners put a lot of work and like research into making things as accurate as they could.
I also think from the interview that the Sanada-san, the actor for Toranaga, the main character, helped them a lot because he has a lot of experience playing in Jidaigeki.
Yeah.
So he helped like a producer and creators and cameramans along
Right.
too. I enjoyed it a lot.
I really enjoyed how complex a lot of the characters were. I don't think there are any characters in that show who you would just consider broadly a good person.
After watching the whole show, I'm glad I wasn't born in that.
I know, right? So you have Blackthorn, who is kind of the protagonist. He's based on a real character who did have a family back home and then just started a new family in another country. I'll never get over that. That's horrible.
名前なんだったっけ?
I think it's like William Adams. Toranaga is also really not a good person.
Tokugawa Ieyasu.
Yeah.
Yeah. based
Also,
on-
even though he's kind of like the person you're, like the Japanese person you're rooting for since you're following from his perspective, but he's not a good person either. None of them are. The only person I really like
Okay.
was the woman that they made become Blackthorn's wife, who decided to be a nun. What was her name? Fuji.
Fuji-san.
Fuji-san.
Fuji.
Yeah, she's the only character who I was just like, she's the best.
I like a lot of female characters in the show. Very, very strong.
Yeah, Mariko was such an excellent actress. She was so good in that show, and I really love how they portrayed her as also learning, fighting to defend her home, because samurai wasn't like a title, it was like your class, right? So like it's not just men who would be samurai, but you were from a samurai family. So yeah, so like in real life, she would have been expected to defend her home if it was like ever attacked. So she would have some sort of training as well.
ナギナタを使ってたね。
Yeah, right, naginata, that type of weapon that she used was commonly
Much longer.
women trained with.
Longer reach.
Yeah, in terms, and I thought that's really cool. I just like that detail in history. I like how it was portrayed. Oh, if you haven't seen Shogun, it is very dark and a bit graphic in some scenes. It was a very brutal time in the world. I would just say worldwide, I think that was a very brutal time for humans.
It was Sengoku, like the fighting war times.
I think most of history has been really brutal
It's
for
like a
humans to
very,
live in.
very realistic Japanese jidaigeki
Yeah.
show. Oh, right. And I also found it cool that actually some of our neighbors actually samurai, like a bloodline. And
Some of our neighbors are descended of...
descendants, did I say?
Yes, descended of samurai family.
Yeah, real samurai family. They actually have a Japanese sword and
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, they were telling us that the swords were so common when they were young that like they would just like go hit bamboo with them and like destroy the swords. And now that they're older, they're like, oh no.
Why did they do that?
And now those samurai descendants are farmers who really love cats.
Yeah.
So,
すごいよね。
and they
時代の
bring us vegetables all the time and they're super nice.
Yeah, I'm glad to be born in this era.
Me too. Well, we wouldn't have met otherwise.
Even my grandparents or grandparents' parent generation war, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so lucky.
I wonder what you would have been like if you had grown up in that time period, because you are so kind and like you've never held any sort of traditional beliefs about a role that men should play or women should play or like anything like that. You're so open to anything. But I feel like...
But that's, I think, all about the environments and education and how you were raised.
Yeah, so I wonder what you would have been like if you were raised back then.
I don't know.
You're such a nice guy, though.
Would I be very stubborn,
I can't.
controlling?
I can't imagine you being like that.
酒持ってこいみたいな。
I feel like you would have hated drinking back then.
I can't even
as
drink.
much. I know. Hi, Pokey. Thank you to Sakurako for sponsoring our video. Sakurako is an artisan Japanese snack box. This month's box is Festivals of Tohoku. Every box comes with 20 snack items, including a tea and a special tableware item, which this month is, what is this? It's got canceled. Oh my god, it's so cute. A neko tenegui.
Just like it's just a cute cloth.
Pokey, come here. Hi there, Mr. Pokey. Meow. You're so patient. You're such a good boy. Yeah. The booklet comes with information on all of the snacks, including allergen information, as well as cultural information about Japan, and it highlights some of the local Japanese snack makers that they work with. This one is the konnyaku. Konnyaku is a type of potato, and it's made into either like large just blocks of konnyaku or little noodles that you put in nabe.
Or jelly snack like this. I like the texture. It's pretty bouncy.
I've never had peach cognac before. It's really sweet.
Konnyaku, I think it's different from jelly.
It's like if Jell-O was just a little bit tougher to bite through.
And it makes you feel less guilty eating sweet stuff.
Because it has a lot of fiber.
Yeah, it's healthy. Healthier gummy.
This month's tea is, how would you translate matcha genmaicha? Brown rice green tea? Brown rice green tea.
Very repetitive because the chai is already means tea.
I immediately got distracted by the photo of this apple cream cookie. It looks so beautiful and I need to eat it right now.
You can see the paper hanging on the sasa leaf, right? You write your wishes on July 7th.
This one's apple cream.
Oh,
this is
리치다네.
one of my favorite types of Japanese snacks. Anytime we get like the senbei with the cream in the middle, it's so delicious. So delicious.
itadakimasu. Very smooth.
It's incredibly rich and smooth, and the flavor of the apple with this is really bright. Let's try it with the brown rice green tea.
I never had matcha and genmai together.
That's why I'm being so annoying about the name. Brown rice green tea. So the brown rice flavor hits you first, and then I think you get like this smoothening of the matcha after. If you guys are interested in getting a taste of Japan from the comfort of your own home, you can try Sakurako using our code and link in the description to get $5 off your first box. Our code is RachelJune. Thank you so much to Sakurako for sponsoring our videos, and let's get back. Also recently, we've been getting more into board games. Especially, I've always liked board games because growing up with my brothers and my sister when I was really young, this was back in the day where you go outside a lot, you would have a lot of board games or like early age Nintendo or N64, which is where you had a lot of games like Mario Kart or GoldenEye where you could play together with people IRL. And so I was used to playing games together with people. That's how I grew up, and I really enjoyed it. And so for me, the height of like enjoyment with friends is like playing games together IRL. So now that we've made some friends who
No, to me.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't grow up with board games at all. Not at all. So it's more like our new friends and I guess you influenced me and made me into the board game. These
are the two ones that we've recently been super into. There's Wyrmspan, which is like a dragon-based version of Wingspan. I like this one because it's dragons. It's basically you try to attract dragons to your mat, and then like you get points for a lot of different things, and then whoever has the most points at the end wins. It's been fun for us to play. There's like
it's relaxing.
Yeah, there's like 180 different dragon cards, and they're all different, which is cool. This is our end game for Wyrmspan. Today we reached our all-time highest score. I'm so excited.
おめでとうございます.
I got some good dragons. My cards work together well. Lucky. Very lucky.
Good job.
And then our friend Matthew introduced us to Spirit Island, which is super fun because it's a co-op game, so you work together with your friends which is so much fun. I really enjoy being able to work together rather than like competing against each other. Spirit Island is a game where you play as the spirits of an island and try to repel invaders, aka colonists, who are like taking over and blighting the land, which is just a really fun dynamic.
I like the concept, and it makes you hate humanity and be careful.
Oh, really? Does? Oh, I guess it kind of does. They grow so quick. They grow so quickly. Oh, and they just keep blighting everything. Dang it, humans!
Destroying nature.
Other than board games, obviously I played Baldur's Gate 3, of course, because I love that sort of RPG. And then after playing that, I've been playing Divinity 2, Original Sin, which is like Baldur's Gate, but just without the cutscenes. So it's also been really fun.
If you guys have any recommendations for board game, let us know.
Oh yeah, if you guys have like favorite board games.
面白かった。
Yeah.
Spirit Island, 面白いね. I guess we like the co-op game a lot.
I really like being able to play co-op games. Yeah.
I know nothing about board game other than those.
Although
I've never even played Monopoly.
well, that's boring. I mean, it's not boring, but it's like there's so many options for board games these days. You did like
Itadaki Street.
yeah,
これは面白い.
it's investing
But with the Final Fantasy characters and
with Final
Chocobo,
Fantasy characters and stocks,
Square
like the
Enix
stock
characters.
market.
めっちゃ面白いよ.
June really liked that game.
You liked it.
You haven't
too,
played it in a
when
long
you play.
I liked watching you play it. I didn't understand
You didn't understand.
how you won.
Really?
When I was younger, I was super into anime because when I was a kid, cartoons in English didn't really have like storylines that went through the whole show.
Hi.
So being introduced, most of them didn't at least, so being introduced to an anime where there was like a storyline where episodes like continued one after another and like progressed towards something was like mind-blowing to me. And so as a kid, I watched every anime that came on our TV just because like it was so cool and new to me. Anyway, I was super into anime when I was young, and then by the time I was like around college or so, I'd seen so many different anime and I was starting to get tired of like just common tropes. Especially at that time, most of the anime that was on TV was like shonen anime, where like it would just continue for 100 episodes and nothing really happened, or it was just fighting. There were so many like just dumb tropes about female characters, and I was annoyed. And so I've had a hard time finding anime since then that I could enjoy watching because they're just so trope filled. And it's not just anime. At this point in my life, I've consumed so much content that a lot of it is stuff I've seen before, right? So I'm just kind of like, I'm not really into it. And so I was extremely pleasantly surprised to find Frieren recently, which is now apparently like the most popular anime in English. It's like the highest rated.
I started recommending Frieren, I don't know how many years. It was before they made it into anime. It was the manga. の時からずっと I think you will like it. I think this meet your conditions. I think this will fit your taste.
To be fair, you've recommended a lot of anime that I wasn't into.
Knowing that I didn't think you would like as much. But Frieren, I was pretty confident. And then they finally made anime.
And so just like everyone, I am also super into Frieren. I love it. It's so refreshing to me.
何がそんな面白かった?
The fact that it's not a shoujo manga, but there are so many female characters in it who are the primary focus and who spend time interacting with each other.
There's like a scale you told me, right?
Oh, the
creation.
Bechdel? There's like a Bechdel test. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. I only ever see it written about.
Entire content, the film, how much of a scene where female and female talk.
Is there more than one female character, and do they talk to each other about something other than men? Something can be good if it doesn't meet those criteria. It's just we have so many options for media to consume that I don't want to watch that kind of stuff anymore because I'm just kind of over it. I'm like, why? This doesn't make sense. Half of the world is female. Like, I don't see why you can't put more well-written female characters into your stuff. Frieren was good. There's actually been a number of shows recently that have been really great. Arcane was super awesome.
次のシーズンいつ出るの
I don't mind waiting. I don't mind waiting however long it takes.
Arcane 良かったよね。
Yeah, I've rewatched Frieren now so much. Not
4週くらいしてたよね。
Yeah, not because of the female characters, but
You also like fantasy stuff too.
Yeah, okay. So fantasy, I don't like watching real world stuff. I live in the real world. A lot of it's kind of boring, a lot of it's kind of sad. If I'm watching something, I want to like escape into a different world. So I prefer fantasy or sci-fi or even historical stuff. The main thing about Frieren that I like, which you don't find very often these days, I feel like, maybe it's always been this way, I don't know, is that there's not just a surface level story.
I wasn't able to explain myself well, so I took some time to organize my thoughts. I've actually been wanting to try putting together a little video essay on Frieren for a while, and this turned out to be the perfect place to put it. This is only on the anime and contains spoilers, so if you're not interested, you can skip ahead, but otherwise, I hope you'll be able to enjoy my take on Frieren, and please let me know your thoughts. Frieren takes the concept of what happens after an adventure ends and leads us through a fantasy world that takes a lot of inspiration from typical role-playing games, from side quests with rewards, dungeon crawls, and boss fights. It's enjoyable from that perspective alone if you're a longtime RPG fan like I am, but this sort of New Game Plus or sequel-style story is just the surface-level narrative, which is where most stories these days stop. But Frieren, to clearly all of our delight, also contains an underlying theme that provides us as viewers our emotional connection to the show. And that's exploring how people change with time, which they showed us through the changes that the characters experience throughout their lives. It's a pretty brilliant theme considering it's something that literally everyone can relate to. And it's not subtle. The journey Frieren undertakes is to reach Oriol, which they translate as heaven, so Frieren can see her friend who has passed away after regretting not getting to know him better when he was alive. In this world, Oriol is supposedly a physical place they can reach, but the message they want to send is clear. The show is the journey of a human life, and the change we experience throughout it. Frieren is fantasy, but unlike a large majority of the fantasy genre, and I say this as a lifelong and die-hard fantasy fan, Frieren's fantasy setting actually has a reason to exist. Magic isn't just there because it's cool and fun to watch. Magic in Frieren is an allegory for technology. It can be studied and improved, taught in university, and earlier versions can become obsolete. They could have replaced magic with weaponry or even sci-fi futuristic technology and placed the story in a much more modern setting. Except, if this was a show with guns and a modern military, we wouldn't be thinking about how they improve over time because it's so ingrained in us since birth that technology advances. That's all we've ever experienced. The same is not true of magic, which often just exists as it is. Showing us magic that acts like advancing technology directs us to think about something so basic that we usually take it for granted. But if this is a story about human change, why is the main character an elf? Frieren doesn't live thousands of years simply because she can. She's a narrative tool. Her extraordinarily long life gives us as viewers a single focal point from which we can explore a much longer passage of time than we would normally be able to. Her memories allow us to experience 1,000 years of human history, which gives us a unique perspective on changing customs. Frieren owns a holy emblem, a prestigious relic she was given in the past that denotes her advanced competence with magic, but it's so old in the present that few can recognize it or even know what it is. She mentions how magic guilds shift the way they're managed so often that it's a hassle for her to keep up with their changing standards. It's a statement about our ever-shifting modern institutions that a lot of us are probably already familiar with. I can't even keep up with the newest social media platforms, and I literally grew up with the internet. The author is also able to utilize Frieren's otherness as an outsider to humanity to facilitate this theme. Since she doesn't understand many human customs, she's able to experience a wide array of personal growth. That's in fact what the main story focuses on. As a side note, the way she was written as an outsider ends up paralleling a lot of neurodivergent people's experiences. I don't think that was an intentional choice by the author, but as someone who is neurodivergent themselves, it adds in an extra level of fondness that I feel for her character. I find it especially heartwarming that she's shown to have friends who love and care for her, despite the fact that she doesn't realize sometimes that she's being a pain in the ass, which is just a shot straight at my insecurities. We frequently see things that have changed for Frieren and her companions throughout their lives, down to small things like a recipe for one of Frieren's favorite foods that she had hoped would always stay the same but didn't, or a treat that was a highlight of Stark's childhood that now seems far less impressive as an adult. Things we've all experienced. But we also see things that have changed that have far more profound implications when we consider them in our own lives. Frieren comes across legends that are so long past that even she doesn't recognize them, despite their remnants in the world or even their continued existence. What does that say about the impermanence of our human existence when you can be celebrated enough that a statue is erected in your honor, but ultimately be forgotten anyway? This is not a theoretical question. It's a fact of human existence. Time will eventually erase us all. There are many more examples I could add in here, but I think this is enough to get the point across. It's this underlying theme, how people change over time, that drives the emotional center of the show. We as humans don't relate to magic or elves or dungeons, and yet it's impossible to watch Frieren without feeling a sense of sentimentality, because you'll have personal experiences that relate to at least some of the concepts of change that the show explores. The show doesn't force heavy emotions on you. It's actually rather tame and laid back with the way it presents everything. The music is calming, relaxed, and unhurried. The characters are generally even-tempered, even in what should be high-stress situations. They don't present life-threatening challenges as truly suspenseful. Instead, much of the emotion you're going to feel watching it comes from the subconscious connection of your own memories. You know what it feels like when the recipe is changed for one of your favorite foods. You know what it feels like when you revisit something you loved as a child and it's just a bit less impressive than you remember. You may already have memories of things you used to see as a child that no longer exist. And you might unfortunately know what it's like to watch someone you loved or looked up to lose their sense of self in their final stages of life. Or you might have even lost someone you wish you spent more time with. It's these connections we share that give us a deeper appreciation of Frieren, and I think that's why the show has become so popular. If you haven't watched it yet, or you have but didn't really take notice how much of it was written to fit into this theme, then try giving it a watch again with a new perspective. Almost every episode tells a story about human change that many of us will be intimately familiar with. Now, I have to add a caveat that I haven't read the manga, which is much further along in the story, so it's possible with the upcoming story my theory could break down. But anyway, I think it's a show you can enjoy more the older you are because you'll have more experiences to relate to it. It's currently my favorite anime, I would say of all time, and for more reasons than I mentioned here. I haven't even gone into the characters or the beautiful art. I truly hope they put as much care into season 2 as they did this one. I will wait as long as they need to make it. I'd like to leave Frieren with the best compliment I've ever heard. I like the way you exist.
I'm glad you like it so much.
I do.
And you only watched anime. There's so much more coming.
Also, I really like the music in Frieren.
Evan Call.
So Evan Call also did the music for Violet Evergarden.
Yep.
We're huge fans of Evan Call. His music is amazing. We listen to the soundtrack from Frieren all the time.
Can't wait for season 2.
Oh, I forgot to talk about like one of my favorite things, which is I discovered Brennan Lee Mulligan. I'm obsessed with Brennan Lee Mulligan.
There is no corner of my heart I would not turn over to the world for 5 points.
He's a comedian and he works with Dropout, which is a YouTube channel. It used to be College Humor, but it's not really like College Humor anymore. Now they do a lot of like D&D stuff, and Brennan Lee Mulligan is a DM who is very enthusiastic in his DMing, and I really, really enjoy it.
To think that I failed you and that one of our beloved adult sleepovers was ruined by my lack of vigilance, my lack of foresight, And yes, my lack of leadership fills me with shame. Now, I don't know how long we've been in these spider cocoons.
Dropout is the only YouTube channel that I have ever subscribed to as like a member where you pay them monthly. It's the only one.
そうなの?
Yes,
知らなかっ
because so I could watch
I didn't know.
so I could watch all of the D&D campaigns, and also they have a lot of like really funny game shows on there. I started playing D&D with
You American
Cece and
friends.
Kara,
You American friends.
and then Matthew was our DM, and now Matthew's our board game friend, and now I'm watching D&D campaigns on YouTube.
It's too difficult for me.
Yeah.
Way too difficult.
I will watch anything that Brennan Lee Mulligan GMs. Also, I just love everyone in Dimension 20. It's just been great. It's super great. Highly recommend. If you're curious about getting started with watching D&D, if you haven't done it at all, you can start with Fantasy High. The first season is free to watch on YouTube. There are a lot of parts that made me laugh so much. I'm encouraging our viewers to subscribe to an entirely different YouTube channel.
I thought this is
Give your money. Yeah, so
the topic you said you want to talk
Yeah,
about, the
this-
things we like, right?
this whole video is just stuff we're super into and we pay money for, so obviously we could recommend them as paying money for. I think the quality of content you get on Dropout for $5 a month is just really next level. Obviously, it's a whole company. It's not like an individual YouTuber.
Okay.
Which
I have
is
no idea what you're talking
what
about.
we
so-
are, which is why we are still so low quality and low budget. Sorry. We had opportunities earlier in our YouTube career where we could have turned into like bigger channels with editors and like videographers and stuff, but that's just not really the kind of life that we wanted. We prefer just doing stuff ourselves. I don't want to work with people. Like
Only collab with something you really like
Yeah.
Sakurako, yes. Speaking of,
Yeah.
I'm also going to film in Tokyo relatively soon, thanks to
Yeah.
Sakurako.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
doing another factory tour video, which is really cool.
I think I'm also into learning about like local small snack makers or
Yeah.
how they make, how much effort they put into, and I appreciate it. That's
Me
something-
too. I can appreciate them much more seeing how they're made.
I started going to a Japanese, more like a classic snacks section.
Yeah.
I've been going to the modern one, you know, like Pocky, Pratt's, like
Yeah.
the potato chips, you know. But I started going more to the left, the old ones, the classic ones, and then you go there and then you sometimes find snacks that I used to eat when I was a kid. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so natsukashi, reminds me of the time.
Yeah.
And then now I started learning all these snack makers, how they make, and then thanks to Sakura, they let me film behind the scene. Yeah, I'm pretty into it. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And by the way, this is all in June's kitchen where he like sometimes films videos where they're like the factory tours for Japanese snack makers. If you guys have any specific Japanese snack makers you're interested in seeing, we can ask Sakurako to see if they can help us get into like film their factory process, even if they're not like a snack that goes into the Sakurako box. They also just really like being able to help film like local Japanese snack makers and stuff. So if you guys have anything you're interested, please let us know in the comments. We might be able to go film them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Anyway, this is just kind of a snapshot of stuff we're into right
最近ハマ
now.
ってることね。
I'm sure like there are a lot of you watching have experience with at least some of these things, so I would love to hear what you have to say about them
Yeah,
and get more recommendations if you guys think there's anything else we would like.
おすすめあったら教えてください。
Yes, please.
I actually do have another show that I like a lot,
Yeah.
and then you might like.
Okay.
It's like a combination of Steins Gate and very romantic fantasy, like Frieren.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even get into all the like romance novels. Those are just my guilty pleasures. I read so many like fantasy romance novels
But it's
before I fall
just
asleep.
not Romeo and Juliet. It's
Yeah.
a more interesting.
What is it?
It has a twist. The reason I haven't told you yet, it's because it's not subbed. Originally, it's a novel. I became a fan when I was a kid, and I'm so glad that they finally made it into animation and good quality. It's called Unnamed Memory.
Unnamed Memory.
It's available on Amazon and other platform, I think. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Before we end, I'd like to shout out 2 other awesome people I've been into. One is the YouTube channel Pontus Hultgren, who makes orchestrations of classic video game music. I have watched basically every version of One Winged Angel to find an orchestral version that I feel accurately captures the drama of the original. It is so difficult to find, and the Pontus Hultgren version is perfect. It is so faithful to the original. I listen to it all the time. They also have a ton of other awesome orchestrations, and apparently they're working on Chrono Cross right now, which has some of my favorite video game music of all time, so I'm very excited for that. And one of my friends on Instagram recently posted an outfit from a designer, Mochipan, who has somehow reached into my head and pulled out every dream I've ever had of beautiful fantasy-inspired clothing and makes them into actual, real clothing that you can just wear like in daily life. Look at these leaf pocket shorts. How is it possible for someone to be so talented? Look at her beautiful concept art. Look at her. She is amazing. I've been fangirling for weeks. I cannot stop. Someone send help.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening to us ramble about stuff we like.
Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
See ya.
Our Fuji that we moved is super ganky. I'll show a clip of what this was when we first planted it, but this vine was empty and now there's leaves everywhere and it's taller than June. 1 month of wisteria growth. This thing is insane.
As a lot of you guys know, wisteria, Fuji, is very tough and he will just grow without being taken care of it well. But I gave him very ideal conditions in soil and fertilizer. And water it, and he's loving it.